what is happening here today, your AGM, and the theme of the gathering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up with what we call an honor song. You can stay seated. Most of the times we ask people to rise, but this is a small area. It's very hot, and so I'm going to open up with an opening song. Have a wonderful meeting.
Just 1 second. Okay, I already did.
I was already gifted earlier with
Okay,
tobacco.
alright.
We already had an exchange. So
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So we wanted to make sure that we gifted the tobacco, which is a very important part of acknowledging our respect and paying our respect of being here on this land. So thank you so much. Thank you very much for getting us started the appropriate way. So our panel here is about the Truth and Reconciliation. Today, March 21st, marks, this is the 51st year of the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. So we feel this is an important day to recognize the 94 recommendations and figure out at a grassroots level what we can do. Chris Harris is here from the Community Development
Center for Community.
Center for Community Development, and he's going to share with us just some background on the panelists or on the panel and how we kind of brought it together today for you.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I work at the Center for Community Learning and Development. And we are in the Regent Park area. We do a lot of academic upgrading and adult education. And last summer, we piloted a course called Global Citizenship, where we began to look at issues of oppressed people around the world. And we also wanted to look at our own country, Canada, and look at truth and reconciliation. I could shout out Jen, who's here from Global Citizenship Network, an organization that grew out of that course, as well as Lois in the back. She's also a member of the Global Citizen Network. And I also want to shout out Karen, who's another staff at my organization. And while we do adult education, we're committed to social justice. So the reason that we wanted to work with Urban Alliance to organize this panel is to begin a relationship of solidarity, and not just to have a panel in itself, but to look at the next steps and how together we can move this agenda forward in the upcoming year. Thank you.
Great. So Ilanit Gorn is here, who will just give a quick bio on our panelists. Ilanit is one of our board members.
So it's my privilege and honor to introduce our panelists and speakers for today. Michael China is a residential school survivor and a member of the Call to Action Residential Survivor Group at Council Fire. Michael is also a member of the Restorative Relations Working Group at Council Fire and has had many speaking engagements over the past year to educate various churches and community members about First Nations, the history of residential schools, and Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Kevin Harp is a federal prisoner who spent half of his life in provincial and federal institutions. Last year, Kevin was released after serving 6 years in a federal institution. Since Kevin was released, he's volunteered extensively in Council Fire's youth program and currently works at Council Fire coordinating the food bank. As a former leader of the Native Brotherhood at his federal institution, Kevin is committed to developing mentorship programs and a healing lodge in Toronto for Native prisoners. Kevin is a member of the Restorative Relations Working Group at Council Fire. Nadia Zawari is a volunteer and instructor at the Center for Community Learning and Development, Global Citizenship Academic Upgrading Course. Nadia is a founder of CCLD's Global Citizenship Network, a grassroots organization committed to peace, equity, and social justice. Nadia also has 20 years' experience as a United Nations women's rights worker and a founder of the Afghan Women's Network and Modern Afghan Women's Movement in Afghanistan. And Father Robert Folio is the executive director of the Jesuits in English Canada. This summer, he is organizing a Jesuit conference in June on Canada's Truth and Reconciliation. Please join me in welcoming our speakers and panelists.
I'm Michael China. I'm a residential school survivor from the Cree community of Moose Factory, Ontario, up in James Bay. What I have here is a picture of the commissioners, the three Truth and Reconciliation commissioners, Willie Littlechild at the back, Marie Sinclair in the middle, and Marie Wilson. Those are the three commissioners on the TRC. And on the left, my left, is was the Minister of Indian Affairs, John Duncan. This picture was taken in Halifax in 2011, I believe. So I just thought I'd show you this picture here. Now, I'd like to give you a short history of about Indian affairs. In 1860, the management of Indian affairs was transferred from the imperial government in England to the Canadian state, which is now Canada. And Canadians have a distorted perception of Indigenous people. There's an epidemic of ignorance surrounding treaties. A lot of people don't understand the treaty, the nation-to-nation treaties between the First Nations and the Crown. And the mechanics of how the land was taken away from the indigenous people. In 1880, the Conservative government of John A. Macdonald unilaterally imposed legislative governmental policies of assimilation to gain control of indigenous lands and resources. The government involved with the Indian residential schools formally began during this administration. So the residential schools started in around 1879 during the administration of John A. Macdonald and the Conservative government. In 1884, potlatches and other ceremonies were prohibited. So we just sang, Josh just sang a song there a while ago. That wasn't allowed in 1884. You couldn't do that. You couldn't pass tobacco around. So those ceremonies were banned in 1884. So the title of my speech is Moving Toward Truth, Healing and Reconciliation. So I want to acknowledge that Toronto is the ancestral territory of the Mississaugas of the Niqua First Nation. The Haudenosaunee, people of the Longhouse, and Huron Wendat Nation. I've been involved with the community engagement sessions on reconciliation since 2015. I'm the special advisor for the history of Aboriginal peoples in Canada at York University. I'm also a part of the TRC, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Restorative Relations and Aboriginal Issues Working Group at the Church of the Redeemer in downtown Toronto to determine how the calls to action can be implemented. Reconciliation is a Canadian issue. Without the truth, there can be no reconciliation. Previously, the Indigenous people have experienced historic tensions and hostile relations with the